I am so glad that you are here. I'm gonna mess with my screen for just a minute. For our quarterly TTC workshop, today we are going to be talking about you and our voice orders, and I'm missing, hold on, I'm missing a menu. Sorry. There we go. We're going to do a couple of things, but we have a lot of fun time set up for our breakthrough rooms. We're going to spend more time there than we did in the last workshop. Thumbs up, screen's good. Everybody can see the presentation. Yay. Okay, so all of you should have received a workbook. Thumbs up if we have our workbook. Yes. Access to the workbook. Yes. Good, because you're going to do a lot of work in that workbook today. Okay, now I think I'm all set up. Sorry, I was transitioning workshops. So in workshop 1, we talked about the 5 voices. We are going to do a quick recap of that because it's something that we need you to connect with and understand. And then we're going to talk about the power of your voice. So in Proverbs 31, or I'm sorry, 18:21, it actually reads, our words have the power to build up people, yes, and give them life, or tear them down and bring them death. The words we speak can inspire and encourage others, while in the same sentence, deflate and discourage others. And so today is really about understanding what does that look like and what triggers your voice when this happens, which is super cool. If anybody was on the fence about the 5 voices in our first workshop, today you have an opportunity to actually confirm or affirm, however you want to look at it, your voice and where it lands. And I am so sorry. I guess I should mention I am traveling for work and I am presenting from my hotel room right in between sessions with a client. So forgive me for the background. All right, so getting started with your workbooks. My screen is really, let me just adjust something real quick because it's going to drive me nuts. Okay, so the objectives for today, these are in your workbook, is 1, we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to celebrate what your foundational voice brings to your team, to your family, to yourself, to those 5 circles of influence that we talked about. Then we're going to talk about what are really the negative impacts that our foundational voice can have on others. And remember, we all have tendencies, and our tendencies are good, but they can be used for good. They can also be used in a very negative way, and a lot of times we're not even aware of that. Today, we're going to heighten that level of awareness. Then we're going to learn how to use your voice to optimize. How do I bring my contribution to the team? We're going to talk about how do we hone in on that and use God's gift in the way that he intended us to use and to show up and be fully present in the way that he intends for us to be fully present. So we're going to start right off the bat with the pairs exercise. Okay, we're not actually going to spare you in breakout rooms for this one because it should be super quick. On page 2 of your workbook, you're going to see a tool, and it's an infinity loop, and it's called Know Yourself to Lead Yourself. And what I want you to do, we're going to jog some memory. You're muted, Heather. You're muted, just so you know. Okay.
I was just saying, I love this one.
Yes, it's a foundational tool. And so what we want you to do is we want you to pull that workbook out, and I want you to fill in the blanks. There's 5 blanks that you should fill in that tool. So just want to see what you remember because it's super important. It's a tool that we build everything off of. I'll just give you like 1 minute. Give it a shot.
Okay, when it says know yourself, the infinity symbol, says fill in the tool. So then that goes down to the 5 voices refresher that says in each row, circle foundational voice.
On the top where it has know yourself to lead yourself, there's that tool there. And there should be blanks in there.
I don't actually see any blanks.
Are they
All I
in?
see is yeah, I don't, all I see, Derek, you too? All I see is the infinity loop.
And it's blank, right?
Here, let me,
Yes. Your job is to fill in the blanks.
but there aren't any blanks that tell me what to fill in.
Yeah, that's because you're supposed to remember it. There are 5 things that take you around the infinity loop.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, there you
Why is
go.
it stayed like then?
The 5 things on the outside.
Yes, on the outside. On the left side of the infinity loop, inside it's know yourself. On the right side, it's lead yourself. And then you're going to fill in the blanks that go around it. Don't want to spend too much time here. Okay, who has it? Who thinks they have it? Suzanne, take us through it.
Starting at the center of the bottom is tendencies. And then under that curvy line is patterns.
Yes.
To the right is actions. On
Yes.
top, consequences. On the left, reality.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Perfect. Great job, Suzanne. Now, let me ask you, how do you remember? How did you remember what it was?
Because I reviewed the notes the last couple of days from
You're
last
so
time.
good. You are so good.
I'm a cheater.
You're not a cheater. You're a preparer. You're not a cheater. You're a preparer. That was excellent. So when you're done, it should look like this. Tendencies, patterns. Okay. So remember, we all have tendencies. We're born with those. They're hardwired into us. It is God's gift to us. How we choose to use them and show up and use those tendencies creates our pattern of behavior, and that's our learning opportunity. If it's negative, if it's positive, we want to multiply it. That leads to our actions. Those actions, as we know, have consequences, and consequences is not a bad word. They could be good consequences. They can also be bad consequences. And then that either shapes our reality or somebody else's reality of us. So in each one of the workshops, we're going to equip you with additional tools for self-awareness. So the more that you know yourself, the better you can lead yourself. And that's what last workshop and this workshop is about. Okay. So we are going to do something super fun. So hear me, listen to the instructions. Real quick, everybody put alongside your name, put what you think or you remember your foundational voice to be, just the first voice. We'll do this real quick, like 30 seconds. We're going to use this to throw you in your breakthrough rooms. So please do that so that Heather can get you there quick. All right, let's see, Heather Johnson Nurture. Don't see anything for Suzanne or Derek yet. Elizabeth.
You can go in to change your actual name, click on the 3 buttons by your, at the top of your picture, and then you can go to rename and then put your name and whatever your voice is.
Tanya, we have Nurture. Suzanne Creative. Derek Creative. Miss Elizabeth Nurture. Heidi Nurture. Heather B. Don't have anything yet. Sean Smith, don't have anything yet. Lisa, nothing yet.
Heather B, you're a pioneer, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'll
We
change
need
it.
a connector. Kylie Phyllis. Phyllis is a creative. Cat, Pinky. I think Pinky's a nurturer.
Lisa B, what's your voice?
I'm trying to change my name. I am a creative.
This is my hosting power.
Look how good she
Kylie.
is. Done.
Kylie, what's your voice? Pinky, Cat, Sean. They may have stepped away briefly.
Cat the nurture.
Cat's a nurture. Long live the nurtures. That's the nurture. Just kidding. Long live everyone.
I think Pinky is too, if I remember right. I don't have the spreadsheet.
Yeah, she put it in the chat, so I'll rename her too.
Okay.
John, what's your main voice?
I have to apologize. I was running around working.
That's okay. Do you know what your main voice is?
I'd have to go back and look at my papers from before.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Gosh, I like seeing your name and your voice by you. So fun.
It's so interesting. Because I'm traveling, I'm working on one little screen and I'm used to having 3 screens and I feel almost handicapped. Now people have multiple things up.
Mhm. I know when I look up this way, it's because my other screen's there, so I'm not
Oh.
ignoring you. All right. Like we need Kylie and Anne. Anne, if you just coming in, do you remember your main voice from last time?
Oh, she has such fun hair in her picture. Okay. Okay, I think everybody, if I'm looking at this, everybody so far, with exception of Heather B, has somebody they can partner up with. Okay. So Heather B, it's going to be you and me on this one. So here's what we're going to do is in a minute. First, you're going to work independently on, we have several group things, but first I want you to work independently in your workbook on page 3. And there are statements, there are voices, there are symbols, and there are statements. We want to see what you remember in terms of your voices. It's called a 5 voices refresher. So you need to go through, read the statement, and then assign them to the correct voice. I'll give you a few minutes to do this while people are still gathering their their foundation.
I feel like we should have Jeopardy music.
I know. Do you know often I play music and I just did not have time to get set up like that. Okay, I'm pulling up the culture team spreadsheet, Heather, for the ones that aren't sure. Kylie was a pioneer, foundational pioneer.
She said either creative or pioneer.
It's pioneer. And then does that just leave? Do we get Sean? Okay, are we good? Did everybody have a chance to review the statements and try and line them up? Thumbs up, yes? We're good?
Mhm.
Not good? Good.
Yes.
Okay. Derek, what do you have?
Okay. I think like the first one is creative, and then next one's connector. Third one is pioneer. Fourth one, I thought the fourth and fifth ones were guardian ones, then creative and nurture for the last one.
Who agrees or disagrees? Did anybody have anything different? Elizabeth, what do you have?
I had the first two as nurturers, and then a pioneer, and then guardian, creative, and creative.
Okay. Well, let's review it real quick. Close. Okay, so nurture. Here is the description of a nurture. They are a champion of relational harmony and values. That's their statement. So line that up with the nurturer with the purple. Okay. Our nurturers. Oh, Elizabeth, keep going. Tell us about yourself based on the slide. And what have you learned? And what have you learned because of it?
This is not shocking at all, actually. Yeah, although my fear of conflict has gone down the older I've gotten. So I don't know what that means, but if it says anything, my peacemaker husband, like, he's like, I'm gonna let you turn on Mama Bear, go get the thing. But that's terrifying.
Unfair.
Sometimes I don't like doing it. So maybe that's the kicker, is I can, but I don't like to. I do value high value of relational harmony. So like when there's conflict in our home, it makes me all angsty inside. And yeah, like that whole like sitting back and not speaking, that with the fear of conflict, being like, oh, I'm not gonna rock the boat, but that's getting better too. So we've gotten a bit boat rocky in the last couple of years.
And silence is not agreement, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Oh goodness. There's times that I chew on my tongue. I'm just like,
How do you say it?
probably shouldn't. Maybe we don't should on ourselves. I know, but like, there's spaces to open my mouth when I have chewed on my tongue.
Perfect. As a reminder, the nurturer, in terms of the volume of their voice, their sound bar is the lowest for these reasons. They love harmony. They really dislike conflict, even so much that they will hold their own thoughts to avoid the conflict. And as a reminder, we have a job. We have an obligation to them to empower them. We always need to ask for their feedback first. We need to remind them that we see and we value their competence, and we genuinely value their contribution, especially when they're truly authentic. And fun fact about a nurturer is people trust them because they know that they do not possess anything that's intentionally negative or vindictive. They will never speak when it is not true. They'd rather not say anything at all. So we trust them deeply, deeply.
Oh my goodness, that's so true.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I've like looked at my children before and be like, I have never lied to you. Like, I don't know why you're saying you don't trust me right now, because I have never, ever, ever lied to you. So yeah.
Right. It's true. It's true. 43% of the population. Remember, they represent 43% of the population. That is a large percentage. Almost half the people you meet in your life are going to be nurturers. And they are present day thinkers, meaning that they're always thinking about the reality of today, and they're not as focused on the future. They want it to be good right now. and they want people to be cared for right now. Okay. Next voice is the creative. I know we have some creatives. Suzanne, tell us about this.
Wow, do I have to?
No, but would you?
If I start coughing, then I'm bowing out. I'm having a little bit of allergy symptoms going on.
Okay.
It's a fit. I mean, I can't argue it. When I was younger, I would have told everybody I was a nurturer because that was the expectation in my life. And it wasn't until I had opportunities to not be the nurturer that I learned that's not really who I was and that it wasn't who I had to be. I have a lot of those tendencies still. Learned, not necessarily by choice, but learned. I think probably one of the biggest fits on two of the biggest fits on the creative for me is struggling with the fact that people don't understand my ideas. And the social conscience aspect of things. That's how I've spent most of my life working in nonprofits. So there's a reason for that. And then the other part is the internal perfectionist who I would like to deny, but I know I can't. One of the big things there is that I don't celebrate. And it's not just, I don't celebrate the 90% that is right. I just don't celebrate. It's painful for me to celebrate.
Isn't it interesting to put it into words though, is
Yeah.
we can always do better. And again, that tendency can be negative and it can be positive too.
Right.
So remember the creative, thank you, Susan. The creative second to the lowest when it comes to volume in the voice, with the voice. And this is important. Only 9% of people are foundational creatives. So they're not only are they hard to understand, they're often misunderstood by other people. But we love the idea of them being conceptual architects, being very, very future-oriented people. In their brain, everything is clear. They have a plan, it is crystal clear, and they can tell you, steps A to Z to get to where they're going or to finish the project or set the goal. And in that, they have processed every possible way it could happen. And because they're so good at that, they are also ready to explain and or defend their position on that, but only if we're willing to hear them out, because they struggle to communicate. When I coach creatives, I always tell them this: you do not have a USB port that I can plug into and download the data and make sense of it. So help me. And what is really special, I think, when creatives are really, really good, is that they hold on to those ideas until they're almost perfect. Like they don't want to share them until it's all figured out. And because of that, I tell them it doesn't have to be perfect. We just have to make progress in the conversation. Like the idea does not have to be fully baked for you to get it out and for us to start going on a journey together. Okay. What we need to remember is they need help sometimes. And so we can't assume that we understand, and we can't judge them on what they say the first time when they're trying to explain things to us. And we can help them communicate their ideas by one, asking them really good questions, saying, look, I know that something's there that you love, that you're passionate about, and help me understand what that is. Can I ask you some questions? And then it's like a river. It just starts flowing. You ask them the right questions, you know them, you love them, they know that about you, and they'll just open it up. And before you know, you have clarity. And because of the perfectionist tendencies, we have to remind them, it's okay that it's not fully baked. I get that you're not quite ready to deliver this, but let's have a conversation. Okay. All right. Next one we have is the guardian. Who do we have that's a guardian? Oh, interesting. We don't have very many guardians. Do we have any guardians in the call? Okay, we don't.
We
won't
have
a-
guardians, just not on the call today.
Yep. Okay, as a reminder, guardians are right in the middle. Okay, they will let their voice be known and heard. Soundbar right in the middle. They represent 30% of the population. The second highest represented voice, first is nurtures, then is guardians. They love systems and processes. They are the doers. And if efficiency comes with that, even better. Repeatable processes, they love. What we have to know and understand about the guardians is that if it's something that we're trying to do just to do it, it's not worth the risk to them. They can be risk adverse. And so they often are like, let's not change just for change's sake. Let's not go there. Let's not do this. And so they'll start poking holes, what feels like poking holes, but really what they're doing is they're seeking to understand why we're doing what we're doing and why we're going where we're going. And so oftentimes we have to build a bridge by letting them ask the questions. Our job is to answer them. And I love when guardians poke holes in everything that I do, because I know if I can get it past a guardian, it is going to be very well received. And I love that. I love that. Okay, how do we empower them? We just need to welcome their challenge and their critique and not be offended by it, not feel like they're shooting us down, which we're going to learn about today, but really honor. And I admire a guardian's due diligence. Their commitment to that means that we're not wasting time, we're not
That's not how we
wasting
color.
money, and we're considering people. Okay. All right, then next we have the connectors. I know we have a connector on the call. Mimi, tell us about the connector.
We love people.
You do.
We love people and we love everything about people. We love connecting people. We love to know all about people. We love networking.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tell us some of the things the connector voice struggles with.
I think that something I struggle with is, and I don't know if this is true about all connectors, but something I struggle with is and maybe it falls over into other voices, but of being heard. And I don't know if that's true about connectors. But and how I hear other voices. Because but because I love people so much, you know? Does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does. And guess what? We're going to put some words to that and help you understand that even more today.
Okay, great.
So it'll be a party for you. It'll be fun. Okay. So connectors, second to the loudest voice. And like Mimi said, they are lovers of people. They love relational networks, and it goes broad. It is extremely broad. They love collaborative spaces. They don't want to go alone. They want to gather all of the ideas. It brings energy. And when they have their sight on something, they're extremely effective communicators. You know why? Because they attach to the heart first. So they get excited for us, and it's the heartstrings that they attach to. And then they say, I can help you figure this out. It goes to the head. And then really, really effective communicators also know how to get money. They know how to get things funded. So they are great for causes. They connect all of those to make it happen. One of the challenges, as you're going to learn today with connectors, is that they don't take critique well, because they have a hard time separating, I'm going to bring you feedback on this project, on this thing that you're doing. And they will take that as personal. And it's because they put their heart and soul into everything they do. So oftentimes it's difficult for them to separate what they've done from who they are, because it's all connected for them always. So here's how we empower them. We just need to give them space to tell us the story. We need to let them share, and they will connect dots in that story all the way around, often related to people because of the joy that people bring them. And then we need to appreciate their efforts and where they're coming from before we give any type of feedback, any type of critique. And if you really love your connector, please be kind and say, look, I love you and I love the energy that you put into this, but I'm going to fight for you right now, and I'm going to give you some feedback. Okay. It settles down. It lets them know that you don't think poorly of them, in any way, shape, or form, you just have something to share with them. Okay, so it helps them separate their identity from what you're doing. They are 11% of the population. Okay, and the last one, Pioneer. Heather B, you're going to be up here in a second. Tell us about the Pioneer.
Yes, strategic visioning, always thinking about 2 steps or 3 steps or 10 steps in front of where we are. So, thinking about, yes, this is good now, but how do we get to that next place? And so that lack of sensitivity is absolutely true, because we're just like, we just want to get to the next place, and can't you see that we just want to help the organization get there? And sometimes it's misinterpreted, because at least I am very passionate about how do we keep going forward. Yep, we're doing things here now as it is, but how do we keep going forward? So that lack of sensitivity can be there, or apparent lack of sensitivity. Unwillingness to listen is true, in that I think oftentimes we see that people are working in today and aren't necessarily seeing our vision, right? And so they're like, but we can get better. Anyway, and that whole perceived as arrogant thing is also very true. It's how do we go about I've tried to work very hard at how do I go about helping people see the future without trying to denigrate the greatness that's going on today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, you don't think what we're doing today is good enough? No, not at all. It's just that, how do we get to the next better step?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Makes perfect sense to me. Thank you. Okay, the Pioneer, you'll notice on the voice volume, there is this nice red little triangle, with an exclamation.
That's not true. All y'all who've been in the room with me.
Because
people on meetings with me have to literally turn down their volume.
Yeah. Let me tell you why that simple is, or let me remind you, is because Pioneers have an extra duty of care. Because the Pioneer voice can move organizations along more quickly, more efficiently, and can help spaces grow extremely effectively, more so than any other voice in terms of time and aggression. But we have the extra duty of care doesn't come from that. The extra duty of care comes from the fact that if a Pioneer is triggered, or there's a Pioneer that lacks self-awareness, we can destroy all of that quicker than any of the other voices. And we only represent 7% of the population, which means that 93% of the population do not think the way that we do. It can appear as though we lack sensitivity, but the Pioneer strategic vision is what their eye is on all the time. They want to get results. They want to be efficient. Their love language is, give me a problem to solve. It gives me purpose, and I will solve that problem because I love you. We can appear to be unwilling to listen to feedback, and because of that, it's perceived arrogance. But they're just like, I know my way, and what I'm doing will get us where we need to be, so let's just keep going. Let's not waste time. In terms of the empowering them, they don't need it. Pioneers do not need to be empowered. They know and they trust their competence. They just want you to affirm it. That's all they want. And it's almost a strategy. Like, do you trust my competence? Do you trust my heart? And do you trust where we're going? If the answer is yes, then let's keep moving. No, we don't need to discuss anything else. Okay, 7% of the population. Okay.
And I think that's why I was a successful colonel in the Army.
Yes, 100%.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to do an exercise, a group exercise. This is going to be super fun. We will not have, obviously, a guardian group, because we don't have any guardians on the call. But we're going to put you in a breakthrough room with people who have the same foundational voice as you. And I want you to have a discussion. These questions are in your workbook on page 4. and this is what you're going to discuss. What does your voice bring at its best? When your superpower is fully charged, what does your voice bring at its best? And then I wanted to talk about what most frustrates your voice in a team or in a team meeting. And you can consider your family your team. So if you want to use your family as the example, use your family, okay? And then the big question is what do you think the other voices think about you? How do they view you? Okay, any questions before we go to, we're going to spend a little bit of time here because those are lots of questions. Any questions? We're going to do 10 minutes of, you guys can do that. We're going to come back. Each voice is going to take a couple minutes, pick somebody to represent your voice and the feedback portion and document your thoughts on page 4 of your workbook. Everybody clear? Everybody has the assignment? Yes?
Yes, Mimi's our only present connector. Where should she go?
Okay, does anybody by show of hands have a second voice as connector?
My second voice is connector.
Okay. Okay, so Heather, why don't you link up with Mimi and I will link up with Heather, and then we'll put the nurturers and the creatives in their own room.
Okay, when you guys go down, let me open the breakout rooms. Hold on. You can actually choose. And if you need me to send you, let me know.
Perfect.
Let me hit pause.
She's not recording.
And then on how other voices hear us is we're too much. It's because we are very big and loud.
You have a lot to say with a lot of energy. Okay, perfect. Creatives. Let's have the creatives go next.
Okay, so what does our voice bring to, at its best? Just our outside the box thinking, and that we overthink, and you're perfectionists in that, and we're not satisfied with the status quo. So it's kind of our best asset, I guess, is the multitude of ideas we bring, and then like our biggest frustrations are just being misunderstood.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes people just look at you like, where did that come from? So, and then what we think of the other voices might think of us, is that there's a feeling like sometimes we're easily dismissed. It's like, because they don't understand. It's like, okay, whatever, next. And also when people question our ideas, they're actually criticizing us. That's what we feel when it's just wanting to gather more information. And so it's easy to take questions about the ideas and internalize that, make it personal, and feel like there's like judgment on us when they're just asking questions to find out more information.
Great insight. I worked with a creative nurture, coached him for about a year. He does what I do inside of an organization now. Wonderful human being, strong believer, but he had this formula. He had this formula in his mind that said, like, people don't understand that I really am competent because I have such a hard time communicating. So my formula is, if I can connect to them through chemistry, if we can build rapport, then my hope is that they'll stick with me long enough through the conversation to see that I truly am competent and I have something good to offer. And I thought that was amazing insight from the connector voice. Amazing insight. It was so good. Thank you, Derek. Okay, let's do the nurture. Go to the nurturers next. Who's our sports spokesperson for the nurture voice?
We didn't get there, but everybody else turned their video off, so I guess that's me.
We can tag team it. I just kind of
Bam, we can do it.
Pinky, what are you making? I want to know what you're making.
Oh, I'm trying a new recipe. It just was, I'm marinating.
Okay.
Here's the recipe.
Go ahead.
My cooking channel. I think it's some kind of chicken with jalapeno. You marinate it and then you bake it. It's got jalapeno, like the juice from the jalapeno bottle, mayonnaise, garlic, and basil. And I'm just kind of marinating it, and then you put it in the oven. So we'll see what happens. It's a New York Times recipe. Anyway,
Let me know.
I'll update you later. how it
Okay,
goes.
so nurture voice.
Okay. So yeah, Elizabeth, could you help me with if
What
I
we
forget?
bring in
So
our
the first one,
best.
the bring our best, people, focused on people. People. We care about the people. So we're concerned about the people. So that's what our I guess our strength. And then I don't remember what was the second one.
What frustrates us, and we all were like not being heard. I'm seeing a theme here. Like we all feel like
Yes.
we're not heard, which is intriguing to me. But like especially like if you have something that you say and then your response gets glossed over, or someone repeats almost exactly what you said in just a different way, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah," and you're like, "What I just said."
I just
Right?
said that.
I just said that. Did you not hear me? And then how do other voices view us? Possibly as passive, or like we don't know what we're talking about because we're quiet.
Yeah. Remember, how do we empower and nurture? We ask them first. We ask them for their feedback and their thoughts first. There's some rules. We're going to learn the rules a couple workshops out, but okay. So that leaves the pioneers, and Kylie, I think Heather tagged you. You're it.
I think I got tagged.
Yeah.
So our voice is visionary.
I
We're
was thinking
critical.
ahead, you see.
Yeah, I was too. It was your turn now. Roadmap to the future, positivity and encouragers. What frustrates us? Problems can be very frustrating. Don't want to do the details, but we want to like manage the thing, but we don't want to actually have to do all the detailed stuff. People that inflate the truth, or incompetence, laziness, we also don't feel recognized or interested, and we don't like to waste time. We like to honor each other's time, and so that's very frustrating when our time is not honored. We can be perceived as stubborn, rude, uncaring, arrogant. We just don't have the energy to ask for other people's inputs or collaborate with others. I think that's it. Did I get everything? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, and not that, I mean, maybe not the energy to, but we don't often get the feedback that we're asking for because people are doing the now instead of thinking of the future. So we ask for feedback or input on these next steps, and we often don't get it, right? Anyway.
Excellent. Thank you all for doing that. Okay, now that we've become re-familiarized with the voices, we're going to go in and we're going to talk about this little thing that we have that's called a weapon system. Sorry, my computer,
Charlie, Dad wants you back out there now, please.
My slides are dragging. Not sure why and where they're going. Hold on. Something happened when I shared screen. I don't like not being at home. Is my screen really small on your guys' screen?
Yes.
Because
Yes,
it's stuck.
we see the whole thing with the slides on the side.
Okay.
Can we address the guardians for those who will be watching?
Oh, yes,
aren't
we can.
actually here?
Yeah, actually, we will pick up on the guardians through the weapon system on the sheet towards the weapon system. So really, for a recap, what the guardians bring at their best is their due diligence, their ability to actually see things that other people are missing. The gaps, they help identify the gaps, and they have the willingness to ask some really hard questions to make sure that we're thinking about everything that we should be thinking about in the process. What frustrates their voice more than anything is waste. Waste of resources, waste of thought process, waste of energy, or when they have to ask for permission to be who they are. So basically they're given a task and they want to go and complete that task, but along the way, they have to actually get approval for every step along the way. That really frustrates them. When people don't consider consequences of outcomes of actions. Yeah. How do the other voices perceive them? Oftentimes the other voices perceive them as very difficult, kind of like, you're crushing my dreams. You just don't want me to succeed, because of their willingness to ask really difficult questions, because they take it as a personal responsibility to make sure that we're a good steward of gifts and resources and responsibility. And so oftentimes the other voices just go to this place of, I can see that you don't want to support me, you don't want to make me win, or you're just making this extra difficult, when that's not the truth. They're trying to make it, make whatever they're doing have the best possible outcome. Okay. All right. Good, Heather? Yes? Okay. Weapon system. You have a page in your notebook that has the symbols for each one of the voices, and you're going to write down the weapon system as I go through them. Okay. And Heather, we're using the other version as opposed to the original version for this one. Okay. So for the Pioneer, think of the Pioneer as a bulldozer. So the weapon system for the Pioneer is, if they have an initiative, if they have a plan, if they have a vision, and somebody is threatening that vision or coming up with reasons or excuses why something can't be done or be moved forward, or somebody challenges them in any way, they can just come in and they can just bulldoze the entire room. And so what it looks like is them showing up saying, we are not going to discuss this. My idea is the right idea and probably the best idea, and we're going to move forward and we are going to charge forward no matter what. So they're just bulldozing through, and then everybody else in the room is like, why were we even invited to the table? If this is how it's going to be, and your mind is made up, why were we even invited to the table? Okay. So for the Pioneer, write down bulldozer. Okay. Next, we have the Connector. The Connector's weapon is cyber warfare. And this is what it looks like. Because the Connector knows so many people, right? And they connect all of those people and all the dots. If a Connector is not careful, and typically when they're personally offended by something, they drop these little teeny tiny comments. And we call it cyber warfare because they know so many people and people talk. And that comment spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads. And so this is what it looks like. It could be as simple as this. Everybody look at the screen. And Heather, I love you. You know I love you, right? Okay, this is what it looks like. We're coming up with a plan to deliver the workshops. And we're talking through communication, we're talking through how we can make it better. And Heather says, well, I'm going to invite Bob to the table to have a, and I'm like, Bob? Really? Okay. Bob's coming to the table. Heather goes like this because she cares about people. What's wrong with Bob? Why wouldn't we invite Bob? And then Heather asks, does anybody know what's going on with Bob? Notice I didn't actually say anything. It was just like, oh, okay. As a connector, if I know all of these people, and most of the time I'm a lover of people, it just spreads like wildfire. That's why we call it cyber warfare, because now everybody's questioning Bob. Notice I didn't even say that Bob did anything wrong. You know, it could be like, yeah, I worked with Bob once. I don't know that I'd ever choose to work with him again. Don't have to say anything negative, but people start questioning Bob. And so we call it cyber warfare. Okay. All right. Guardian. Guardian's weapon of choice is interrogation. So when a guardian is triggered, when their weapon system is launched, it is like, sit down, lock and load, because I got a whole lot of questions for you. And it's question on top of question on top of question on top of question, stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked. And we don't even get to give the answer to the first question before they're on the fifth question. And it almost feels like they're taking us down the road of destruction or failure. Like before you know it, we start questioning, like, hold on, was I wrong? Am I incompetent? Did I get this wrong? And so their weapon of choice is actually interrogation. They kill us with questions. And in this mode, they're not helpful questions. They are intentional questions to break down the process because something has happened. Okay. Next, we have two creatives. So if you're a creative pioneer, you're a creative thinker. If you are a creative nurturer, creative connector, you're a creative feeler. The creative thinker is the laser. They come in, and do you remember, like, one of the fun, beautiful things about the creative is they have it all worked out in their mind. They have all of the details covered. They have all of that stuff. And because they've done that, and because they have prepared so well, they know what should happen. They know what needs to happen. And when they finally launch their weapon, they are so precise with the response. It is like laser focused, targeted response. I tell people all of the time, if you're married to, or you work with a really healthy, creative pioneer, don't ever bother to argue with them. You can't win. You can't win because it's logical, it's factual, and they've come at it from every angle in their head already. So don't even bother. Don't. Okay, next we have the creative feeler. Okay, the creative feeler, we call it the Hulk. Why? Because their fuse is super long and they can take and take and take and take until there is this violation of this internal code that they have, and it is internal moral code. Somebody can come at them, offend them, but if you offend their team or their family, somebody who is calm, cool, and collected, who you've never seen this side of them, all of a sudden becomes the Hulk, and they go into this huge protective mode, and they will just come at you. Now, I want to point out something in the weapon system between the creative thinker and the creative feeler. The creative thinker will always go to logic. This makes sense. That's why they can be laser focused. The creative feeler, logic, and they may not feel remorseful when their weapon is launched. The creative feeler walks away from the episode and they feel this tremendous burden and they say, I should have handled that differently. And they carry that with them for a long time, long time, because they hurt people in the process. And that's against their internal caring and moral code. Okay. Both integrity, but one is integrity based on practicalities and logic, and the other is integrity based on human, the way that we treat people. Okay. All right. For the nurturer's weapon system is, there is no weapon system. They simply withdraw. They withdraw all of their care. Where any other time, they're in there, they're taking care of people, they're taking care of details, they're making sure that people are known and wanted and loved and that things are working well together. And then it stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks until the nurturer can't take anymore. And so they just stop caring. And because everybody in their world is used to them being such a joyful person who is giving and giving and giving, everybody around them starts freaking out, going like, well, what's wrong with them? What's wrong? What's wrong? Because they can feel it. They can actually feel it in the room and at the table and where there's presence. And it's because they just can't take anymore. Remember, nurturers do not like conflict. So rather than get into conflict, they will just completely withdraw. Okay. All right. So pioneer bulldozer. Connector, cyber warfare. Creative thinkers, laser. Creative feeler, is Hulk, guardian is interrogation, and nurture is withdrawal of care. Everybody got it? Okay, perfect. Okay. We're going to go back into a breakout room. Let's just do this for 5 minutes, Heather. Okay, breakthrough room, go back into your rooms. And just real quick for 4 or 5 minutes, I want you to talk about, now that you know your weapon system, on that same page, start writing down what triggers your weapon. Okay? So the question.
Rooms are open. You're muted, Pepper.
I just realized that. Let's hear from the nurturers first. So what did you come up with? Nurturers that triggers your withdrawal of care.
When feedback is not received well or feeling unappreciated are the two biggies.
Okay. All right. Anybody want to add to that? No. Oops. I'm going to do this backwards. Okay. I forgot this one goes in reverse order. I'm sorry. Okay. Heather, I'm volunteering. Heather B, I'm volunteering you because you volunteered Kylie last time. So it triggers the pioneer's voice weapon.
Yeah. So getting talked over or being cut off during conversations, especially when people are acting like their idea is more important than our idea is. Also not feeling like we have been given the confidence or control to proceed forward with a plan. If we see bullying of others and their ideas, because we understand the value of ideas, right? Going forward. And so, yeah, those things.
Okay. So over the years, Giant has collected, we as a group have collected responses, and these are the most common responses. Pioneer triggers, perceived incompetence of others. When somebody is at the top table and they are talking and they don't know what they're talking about, that really upsets the pioneer voice. People challenging the pioneer's competence, people threatening the pioneer's vision, or wasting time. Mm-hmm. That's what we've collected over the years. So if you work with a pioneer, if you know a pioneer, if you need to know a pioneer, just know that these are the things that will set them off. Okay. Next, connector voice. What did you guys come up with?
Right. So things that trigger are, I said, well, Heather, do you want to go this time? No? Okay. Things is people coming at us or with like feeling like bulldozed or lots of questions coming at us. And then the second question was, sorry, I'm probably bothering the pioneers right now because I'm wasting time. What was the second question? I just lost my notes.
There wasn't one. What triggers your weapon?
But yeah, so.
Okay, so here's what we've collected from the connectors. People taking credit for your work. People saying that they did something that you have actually done, or they've made a connection that you've actually made. People not recognizing the validity of the connector voice's ideas because they're all over the place. Remember, it's like they have to connect people and ideas and stuff. They're all over the place. Connectors have said when they sense that people are not for them, meaning they don't want to get in and collaborate and get on this crazy train with them for a little while to get to where they need to go. And then especially when something is going on, especially if it's difficult or it's a far stretch, when they're just not willing to sit down at the table together and have a conversation. And connectors, in their connection, they love to have actual conversations. They don't want to talk through email. They don't want to talk, they actually want relationship. All right, guardians. No guardians. So this is going to tell you what triggers the guardian voice, the weapon system. Lack of trust and credibility is huge for them. If they do not trust somebody's credibility, not competency, but credibility, they stand back. And here comes the questions, okay? They don't like unnecessary risk-taking, unresponsive arrogance. Okay, I joke sometimes and I say, you really want to make a guardian mad? Don't respond to their emails. Because they would not send an email if they did not truly need something. Okay, so that unresponsiveness, because they will only communicate what is important. They will only go through the effort if it's actually to work towards something. Okay, and when illogical people appear incompetent. And so when people sit down at the table and it just doesn't make sense to them, they go to this place of they pride themselves on competency and they want to be credible in that space. And so when people come at them and it feels different, then here comes the questions, stacked questions. I tell guardians all the time, I know you have 30 questions in your head right now, but this group can really tolerate about 3 really, really good questions that are going to help move us forward. So which 3 questions do you have that are the most important? We also have to help them in this place, okay? All right, so the creative pioneer, did anybody identify with creative pioneer versus creative connector? Lisa?
I did.
You're the creative pioneer? Okay, tell us what came up.
So for me personally, when I don't know, when people question and they just don't understand the logic of something, if it's black and white, it's black and white. I don't understand why you're struggling with it.
And it's clear as day to you in your head.
To me.
Okay. All right. So for the creative thinker, the triggers are incompetency and inefficiency. Not only are they incompetent, like it's a waste to go here, the arrogance, when people are appearing to dismiss ideas, and the truth is that it's because it's a good idea. We just can't get them to get on board with the idea. But here's a big one. Remember that integrity barometer that I talked about? Exaggeration of the truth is a huge trigger for the creative voice. There's no need to go there. What is, and if it's truth, we can build on it and we can keep working. If not, the creative pioneer they'll lock down. All right, so the creative connector voice or the creative nurture feeler, it's really a feeler voice. Go ahead, Lisa.
So, it was really kind of funny because when you were saying the things for the connector, I'm like, yep, that. So really, because it's a combination, many of those connector triggers are many of my own, and I'm married to a guardian. So it really is funny when we both did this test that I realized, no wonder you keep questioning me, and I take that as you don't like my idea.
When he's just seeking to understand.
Exactly. But it's just it was so interesting. So I would say a lot of the same things, taking credit for my work, not recognizing my ideas, collaboration is a big thing for me. And then of course, if someone is giving my coworker and taking their work, throwing, I'm like, wait a minute, that was her idea. That integrity piece comes out. Like when it goes against my value system, I get hulky.
Good. Thank you for that. Okay, here's what we came up with, what we've collected over the years. Values you hold dear are being ignored or trampled on. That's the creative feeler's internal, right? Their heart is their compass, right? And it's this idea of this, if it's not in alignment, if this value is in misalignment with who I am, it's a trigger, okay? People feel, you feel responsible for being treated badly. Lisa just alluded to that. And when somebody breaks a promise to you, here's another thing, because truth is word and integrity matters deeply to the creative voice. And so when somebody promises something and they let that creative connector down, trust is broken and they can't get it. Okay. So the nurture was already shared with us, and here's what the nurtures we've collected. When you feel taken for granted, right? That came up with y'all. You're not heard, that came up. When your values are being ignored, and those values typically are aligned with people, and then people you care about, again, are being treated unfairly. Okay, we call the connector and the nurture feeler voices, and the way they make decisions is based on the way that those decisions are gonna align or misalign with their own internal values and how they're gonna affect other people. That's why they're similar. Okay, so time for your personal development plan. So you've learned a lot today about your weapon system, and you can ask questions while you're doing this. But we want you to capture 2 key actions for your development plan today. Now that you understand your wiring and you understand your weapon system, pick something that you're willing to focus on from now until the next time we get together, just like we did the leadership insights for the 5 voices, and hopefully you're practicing there. And then we won't have you share them with the group. But again, it's for your development. It's on page 6 of your workbook. It's for your development. So if you decide that this is something that you want to focus on, we can get better at understanding what's coming at us, and then we can filter those triggers different, and we can keep our safety latches on. So I want you to get granular here. Okay. All right. I'll give you just like 1 minute to start writing down your thoughts, because I do want to honor your time. I did not put it in the slide, but the next time that we're going to get together for a quarterly workshop, I believe is December 13th. Heather, tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I have December 13th, same time. And the workshop that we're going to be going over on December 13th is called The Art of Collaboration. So how do we take the voices, and how do we take the weapon system, and how do we come together to use them for good? So information is good, but information applied creates opportunities for transformation. And this is going to be one of those workshops where you're going to take your knowledge, you've been practicing some insights, you've been looking and understanding within yourself and your wiring, the way that God made you unique and how you can show up authentically in that space now that you understand it and you can own it. And then how do we come together and use it? All right, I'm going to do a real quick. Does anybody have an aha or takeaway today that they want to share real quick?
Just that I truly do love and appreciate the differences, and the learning to work together is so critical. Elizabeth and I don't know if we shared it in here before, but we are so opposite, and yet we're on the Tennessee team, right? So and so it's beautiful because we're really just learning to appreciate and hear each other and see our ideas. So I think this is such a wonderful thing, and Heather, I just appreciate the fact that Rev is doing this.
You can thank her because she's awesome.
Yeah, I love that you guys are learning to honor each other in that space, and now at a different level, right? Because we can understand that. Okay. All right. Any questions or final thoughts? No? Okay. All right. So December 13th, same time. We'll send the work out right before, and next time it will be the art of collaboration. How do we bring this together to collaborate well?
Thank you, Pepper.
No problem.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you for those who are watching on the recording. Have a great weekend.